I said, listen here, Master Sergeant, I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't care who put you in fucking charge of this whole fucking rodeo. You know, I'm now coming back from my third fucking war, not tours, it's my third fucking war. And if you think you're gonna fucking talk down to me like this, we can step outside right now and I will fuck your shit up. Hello everybody, Terrence Popp here with another episode live from the Lair. Alright, so now we're going to be covering basically after I had left Walter Reed, that's it. I can't remember that fucking place. So they boxed me up. I was at Walter Reed for like 2 months, and then I got sent to Fort Bliss because I mobbed out of Fort Bliss. Now, I was beyond apprehensive about going back to Fort Bliss. I was having a lot of panic attacks. I was paranoid about it. Well, because, you know, I'd written that after-action report that had fucked over. Well, I didn't fuck anybody over. I just told the truth, and the Army fucking slammed some guys' nuts into fucking doors and shit. So, you know, I was kind of freaked out. So I called a buddy of mine and had some contacts with Senator Levin back in the day before he retired. He was the chairman of the Joint Armed Forces Committee. So I had basically a senator running top cover for me when I got sent down there. So that really helped out a lot. And I'll elaborate in a little bit. Now, the weird thing is this. Okay, they box me up. I pack up all my shit. They put me on a bus. They roll me to the airport. And back then, there were so many troops moving all the time that there was a whole wing of the airport that was just soldiers. All right, so I literally, I'm in uniform. I'm a first sergeant. I'm walking there, and I have these NCOs, a staff sergeant, sergeant first class, and a master sergeant yelling at me and some other people around me like I'm a fucking boot, like I'm right out of basic and AIT. You know, and I was already, you know, rubbed, you know, really fucking thin as it is, and I just didn't fucking have that. So I literally like threw a fucking shit fit, and I remember telling the master sergeant, I said, listen here, Master Sergeant, I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't care who put you in fucking charge of this whole fucking rodeo. You know, I'm now coming back from my third fucking war, not tours. It's my third fucking war. Which I've almost been killed in 2 of them. I'm a fucking first sergeant, an infantry first sergeant for a company of airborne paratroopers. And if you think you're gonna fucking talk down to me like this, we can step outside right now and I will fuck your shit up. I'm not having it. And, well, I didn't go over too well. They were very upset, and they brought a major down, and I said, listen here, sir, I don't give a fuck what's going on here. You know, these are all combat veterans, and I'm not going to have you or anybody in your entourage screaming at these guys like they're just out of basic training. That is so fucking disrespectful. It's not going to happen. And if rubber hits the road, I will put pen to paper, and it will not go pretty for you. I'm not even fucking around, because that's bullshit. So after that happened, everything calmed down, and then they fucking flipped their attitude 180. This is the weird part here. All right, so I'm in uniform. I'm in the airport. You know, I'm not going back to the Middle East, but yet they're trying to tell me that I can't drink. Like, what the fuck is that? I mean, they could just say, oh, you can only have 2 drinks, which is reasonable. But no, you're not having any booze. I'm like, fuck that. So I went and got myself some booze, and they gave me a bunch of dirty looks, and I basically told them to fuck off, and that was it. So on that particular moment, on that particular day, I was the attitude problem soldier that was giving the NCOs a fucking hard time. And if any of those NCOs that I was fucking, you know, jumping in their shit were, you know, worth their salt, they probably would have handled it like me. I would have said, all right, yeah, you're right, yeah. Well, first of all, I wouldn't be fucking, you know, yelling at people and talking to everyone in general like they're fucking right out of basic and it's disrespectful. for me to speak to you like that, you actually have to act like the asshole. You know, you have to do some fucked up shit, not just covering everyone in willy-nilly. That's not going to work. I fly down to Fort Bliss, and I get assigned to the holdover battalion, which is all wounded guys. The OIC, which is the officer in charge, was briefed on me showing up because, you know, Senator Levin himself had called down there and basically said, hey, this guy's coming through. You know, we're watching closely what goes on with him. You know, just be warned. That's what's going on. Because when I started, you know, I don't remember how many stories back it was when I talked about the unofficial AAR of Fort Bliss, Texas. And I wrote it, and it was written with the input of like 6 or 7 other NCOs that deployed to Iraq. And then I called up the Pentagon because I knew a guy who was in the regiment with me. He's long since retired. And he actually put that on Rumsfeld's desk, the Secretary of Defense. And it caused all kinds of fucking pandemonium. All right, it caused the Army to change their MOB process. The commander of Fort Bliss retired as a colonel. The commander of Fort Hood retired as a colonel. You know, typically, you know, if you are in a command of one of the major installations, they usually pick you up for a star. So I'm sure that had a lot to do with that. And there was a lot of hurt feelings, and people were really upset, especially with me. And all I did was tell the truth. But I was, you know, wounded. I didn't want to get fucking run through the ringer. I didn't want to get, you know, court-martialed or I just did not want to play fucking any games. All right. I had reached bullshit saturation. So, you know, we started doing the whole fucking Fort Bliss thing, and it was me, and I bunked with another first sergeant. He was there, I think it was there half the time I was there, because I remember they picked me up to be the first sergeant for the battalion after he left, but he and I would swap off duties. Like he would like be the acting first sergeant a couple days, and then I would do it, especially if he had to do like appointments and shit. So I mean, it worked out pretty good. He was a good guy. I wish I could remember his name, but you know, my brain pan wasn't doing so good back then. So I have a journal where I wrote down a lot of these details. Hopefully maybe one day, if the gods are with me, I'll be able to find them. But you know, that's either here nor there. Now, in the barracks, they had a day room. You know, usually every barracks has a day room. You know, when you're in the military, so everyone, you know, they follow rank. So when I would walk into the room, I could change the TV, whatever the fuck I wanted. Now, normally, you know, if they're watching football or somebody's doing, you know, boxing or some big event where a bunch of soldiers weren't, like, you know, into it, I didn't fuck with it. That's disrespectful. What if there's like 1 or 2 guys in there and they're watching some stupid bullshit? You know, I'll put on my stuff. And since my neck was so fucked up, I would spend hours laying on my back on one of the chairs, watching TV upside down, letting my neck hang off the side so I could stretch it out. And it actually made it feel a lot better, and it stopped the tingling in my hands because I had compressed discs and nerves rubbing around, and you know, it was fucking miserable. But little did I know that if you do that long enough, your brain will adjust to that. So I actually, you know, towards the end of my 2 months there, I'd be watching TV and I'd sit back up, and for a couple, you know, 30 seconds, shit would still be fucking upside down, even though I know I'm right side up. I thought that was spectacular. The first time it happened, it really fucked with my brain pan. But, you know, after it happened a couple times, you know, it is what it is. I also started taking Ambien back then because my sleep was absolute shit. So I would take my Ambien like maybe 7 and 8 o'clock at night. It would kick in about an hour later, and I wouldn't remember anything. But I'd wake up in the morning in my bed, and there'd be like 1 or 2 pizza boxes in there because apparently I ordered food and fucking ate it while I was fucking zoned out on fucking Ambien, which was amazing, but you know, not really I wouldn't suggest it, but you know, it is what it is. Another thing that was a lifesaver for me, especially, They really didn't have any chiropractors on, working at the hospital at Fort Bliss. So I got the yellow pages and I called a chiropractor off post. And I explained the situation. Like, look, I told him I'm wounded. I got an injured neck and lower back. I need to see a chiropractor. It's killing me because I was in a lot of pain. We're talking Percocet, hydrocodone pain levels. And they were really cool about it. They actually came and got me. They came and got me, picked me up, drove me out to the clinic. They did the x-rays. They started doing adjustments. And about the second or third time, I really started to feel a lot better. So, of course, I had to pay for this out of my own dime, which was well worth it. But, in hindsight, they probably should offer something like that on post because, a lot of people think chiropractor and acupuncture is a bunch of wackadoodle stuff. It works. If you have somebody who knows what they're doing, it works. It worked for me. All right, off-post chiropractor. Okay. Yeah, me and some of the other NCOs, we went out on the town a few times, out around Fort Bliss. I think that's Albuquerque was the nearest place. And it turned into a very interesting evening every time. Because I'd run my mouth, people get pissed off. We get drunk, all pile into a fucking van and fucking, miraculously make it back to the barracks. And, because we had a designated driver. So, they, I think one time they pulled us out of the van and yelled at us and shit. But what are you going to fucking do? I mean, you got a bunch of E6s and above, all bombed out of their head. Half of them are wounded. The other half are, working there or cadre. And just blowing off some steam. We're not breaking any laws. We didn't fight on post or anything. And so we just took our ass chewing with a grain of salt and got back in the van and went back to the barracks. Because there's really not much more they could do to us. I thought that was pretty good. Let's see. All right. So I had the top cover, 11 running top cover for me. So I was probably at Fort Bliss almost three, maybe 4 weeks when they actually sent somebody from the OIC of the post to come get me. And then I had to go talk to the new commander of Fort Bliss, and who basically said the way it used to work is totally over. I understand you have some apprehension to coming back here, and I don't blame you, but that's not going to happen anymore. And at that point, I was just given the north and south because I didn't care anymore. Okay, I just wanted to go home. I wanted to get my treatment over with, or whatever they were going to fucking do, and just get on with my life. I'd already done, 11 months in Iraq, plus 4 or 5 months of MOB. And I didn't know how long of this whole fucking wounded nut roll was going to last, because it's a brain injury. And the way it works, if you get injured or wounded on active duty, they will keep you on active duty until you are 100% or you are healed as much as you're ever going to get healed. And that could take up to 2 fucking years or more. It's a brain injury. Nobody can give me a straight answer. So it was fucking with me because I had a little baby girl at home and I was missing both my daughters, and it is what I was in it to win it. I love my kids, so that really fucked with me. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, we ran into this again about soldiers making appointments, which I don't blame them because I fell into the same boat. They were done. They had deployed to war. They were injured. They came back. They just wanted to get on with their fucking life, and they just had shitty fucking attitudes. I mean, shitty, like fucked up bad attitudes. And I didn't do it too often, but there was a couple times I had to jump in some people's shit. But most of the time, at least this is how it was back then. I don't know how it is now. But if I was having a problem with a guy, I'd be like, hey, excuse me, come here. All right, let's go in there and talk about what's going on here, man to man. And then we'd go in there, I'd shut the door, I'm like, what the fuck is your problem, man? I mean, I don't want to go fucking Captain Caveman and fuck people up. All right? You know, if you don't make your appointments, then they fucking come after me and they chew my ass. And then I have to chew your ass because that's the way it works. You've been in this game long enough. All right, so quit being an asshole and let's just unfuck this whole thing. And then, you know, when it's all said and done, tonight we'll have beer in the day room. He's like, oh, yeah, a beer? Oh, yeah. Because most of the time, you could bribe anyone in the military with booze, you know. I'm just saying. There's a lot of guys who like to drink. I'm one of them. I had a couple fights. I didn't have to get physical with anybody. Yeah, I yelled at a lot of guys. You know, I went into a couple of rooms where there was a scuffle, head unfolded, and there was a bloody nose and a couple stitches over an eye. And they gave me the eye fell down treatment, and I didn't push the issue because the minute it becomes assault, the MPs come in, and then the fucking paperwork fucking goes. And once the paperwork starts, the paperwork doesn't stop until it goes into somebody's file. Don't want that to happen. Especially when people are, you know, fucking TBI'd out and not thinking straight. All right, which I was one of them. But that's neither here nor there. Now, this is one part that really disturbed me. They have this test. Basically, they gauge where your cognitive processes are at. And it's like 6 or 8 different little events. It takes like 2 hours to do. And, you know, they want you to take it in the 2 hours. They actually let me do 1 hour one day and 1 hour the next day. And one of the things is so fucking bizarre. It's these black and white blocks, right? And and you have the blocks, and they have the identical set of blocks. And they set the blocks into a certain pattern, and then you have to copy the pattern. It sounds so easy, right? But I was really fucked up in the brain pan because I only was able to do 3 out of the 5 patterns. I really was like, I spent like 15 minutes like, holy fuck, oh. And I was good up until that point, until I realized that the thinking meat between my ears and behind my eyes that makes me who I am was not functioning properly. I was not firing on all cylinders. I was probably too short because I should be able to do this stuff and I couldn't. So that scared the living fucking shit out of me. And that's when I started asking, well, do they have cognitive rehabilitation therapy? And they basically looked me in the face and said, no. I'm like, what the fuck is this? My brain pan is fucking scrambled. I want to get it unfucked and you don't have a program to fucking... I'm like, holy shit. So that was one of the parts I started bitching about. And, you know, if you are, I'm a black belt in administrative violence. So, you know, when I bitch, I know how to fucking hit pressure points and paralyze people and fuck shit up that way. So when I started bitching about it, it was basically the catalyst that got me sent out of there at the end of the 2 months instead of keeping me for like 11, 13 months. So basically they worked it out. It was a CBHCO program where you go back to your hometown and then you get whatever treatment you need, you get from a local doctor and the Army pays for it. But that was crazy. I had 2 more MRIs. You know, they set up the cognitive rehab back here in Michigan, and that's pretty much how that whole thing went. I played a lot of video games. I set up the Total Annihilation fucking combat ring, and we had 5 computers hooked up, 25 guys playing at one time, 5 guys per computer. And I remember I showed it to the brain injury people, the game, and how we were doing it, and they fucking were doing cheetah flips. They thought that was the greatest shit since sliced bread. And but still, there was more of that whole, parade of misery, just broken fucking people. Guys were coming back with crazy, bizarre illnesses that they couldn't figure out or they couldn't cure. It's just the whole thing just sucked, man. It just sucked. Anyway, I went over 20 minutes. I want to apologize. I'll talk to you guys later.